When's the last time you went for a gravel ride and you forgot about potholes, corrugated roads, or wonder whether you're gonna have to grab a handful of brake at any point? It's probably been a while, right? Last week, I rode 130 kilometers in Parkes, New South Wales, and it was some of the smoothest and fastest gravel my tires have ever touched. It really impressed me, and I'm feeling the need to talk about it. I'm gonna go through some of the things I enjoyed, some of the things I should probably improve upon next time, and it might help you so you don't make the same mistakes as me. And also it might give you some ideas of where you could ride the grav bike next. By the way, before we get into it, this video is not sponsored by anyone. So if you like that, just keep watching. The first 5Ks of the ride were on Ashphalt, and we were slowed up by a neutral support vehicle, which I absolutely love because my 32-year-old body does not like doing VO2 efforts upon starting a ride. If I wanted a fast start, I'd do a crit race. The asphalt was good, and I noticed that the potholes had been filled recently because when I rolled over them, the asphalt or the bitumen was still sticky, and it flicks up and hits your frame, but it was just the first little indicator that they've done some work out here and thought about fixing things up before the ride. At about 6Ks, we turned onto the welcome road, which fittingly welcomed us to the gravel roads. And this is where the scenery really started to take shape. There were like big paddocks, the roads were definitely quiet because we're in rural New South Wales. There was only like the hum of the tires on the dirt and then the wind noise because we were moving pretty quick. All I could think at this point was, this was smooth. On the start line before we began, the tourism representative mentioned that all the roads had been regraded recently. And like, no kidding, like this was seriously smooth. Whilst the roads and the riding was absolutely epic at this point, I noticed some of my camera gear failing me. And this is just your reminder that don't change your gear up on race day. I was using a new mount for a 360 camera, and we went over just a couple little bumps, and I noticed my handlebars automatically slid down because the way this mount works is it uses the bolts on the stem bolts. So I tightened them to the appropriate, Newton meters, but they should have been a little bit tighter, or I should have ridden them beforehand to see if they were going to slip down. Anyway, I was running an ND filter on the front of my action cam, and it was overexposing all the footage and it looked kind of shaky. And I had to change that back to auto on the fly. Not recommended when you're going 40 kilometers an hour on gravel. That was a bit annoying. And then my DJI mic kept saying storage error and wasn't recording audio. So, and later down the track, I found out that this is because my DJI OSMO Action cam wasn't fully updated. All these things could have been fully preventable if I just tested them beforehand with a little bit of extra planning. So, yeah. By about 35 kilometers, the group of 20 of us had distilled down to about 5 liters. And we were in a rhythm rolling turns, so it wasn't even a thought to stop at the Cookamidgera aid station. In my mind, I was thinking, man, a break and a snack would have been so nice right now because it was getting really windy out. And also, I'm so conditioned to stopping at the aid stations at Goodness Grab. They're not technically a race, so you can pick your own adventure. And usually I pick the adventure where I stop at the aid stations and have like 3 donuts, some Tim Tams, and stock up with SIS nutrition. But I knew there was no way that I was going to give up my spot in the lead bunch to stop for a snack. Like, the pain of riding solo in the wind or trying to catch them again is way more than the reward of a sweet treat. The 5 of us turned the corner onto Staircase Road, which, you guessed it, was where the climb kind of began. It was one of the biggest climbs of the day, and it wasn't really steep or anything like that. It was just mainly rollers with a few spicy pinches. And there was a pretty good pinch towards the top. And that was the deciding factor where the group of 5 became a group of 3. And I was one of the leaders, baby. I really had to dig deep here on that final pinch of the climb. I remember seeing my heart rate like rev to over 190, which is well and truly like getting towards my maximum. But I'm glad I hung on because pain is temporary. And once you crest the hill and you're with the lead guys, like, I wouldn't say it's easy after that, but it's way less pain than you were dealing with when you were climbing. But the real reason that it was worth it, because the next stretch of gravel between kilometers 56 to roughly 74 is firmly imprinted in my mind as some of the best gravel I've ever ridden, full stop. It was so fast, we were absolutely hauling. It was flowy, I barely touched the brakes. I felt like a pro rider, just humming along at like over 40 kilometers an hour for like 15 Ks. And this is the section where we really appreciated the quality of the gravel, because when you're moving so fast, having that peace of mind that there's probably not going to be a pothole coming up, it allows you to enjoy the speed and the rolling hills and all the things a little bit more. Anyways, take me back. That Waterhole Creek Road was a massive highlight of the day, and if there's any reason to ride in Parkes, it's going to be this road. Kilometers 74 to 93. This is the Eugowra Out Back or Coffee Detour, and traditionally, I don't like Out Back. They feel so redundant, but this one wasn't so bad, partly because the first half of it was all downhill to Eugowra, so we were absolutely hauling once again, and I think there was a tailwind, so I'm not against going fast. It's like the best feeling, right? Like you're just moving fast through space, and it's awesome. So when we got to Eugowra, this little coffee cart in the town, and the guys I was with, they just did a U-turn and kept going the other way. And I was like, what? What are we doing? Why aren't we stopping? We're 90 kilometers in, there's 50 kilometers left. Like, surely you guys aren't gonna, like, aren't you adding nutrition? Don't you have to restock, refill something, use the bathroom? Like, come on. And they just kept going. I told them like, hey, I gotta stop. I'm out of water, I'm adding nutrition, I'm starting to cramp. If I don't stop, I'm pretty sure my body is gonna detonate and self-destruct somewhere on the road, and they're gonna have to peel me off the road. So reluctantly, I said goodbye to the leaders, and it really sucked because we'd been working so well together, and it was my own fault that I didn't pack enough nutrition. We were 90 kilometers in and 2.5 hours of riding. Like, I'd taken 2 bottles, a hydration pack, I'd used it all up, and I'd gone through roughly 200 grams of carbohydrates. Like, it's not always convenient to carry more, especially when you know that there's like at least three rest stops, aid stations on this course. They're good aid stations with quality nutrition, and it's not a race. But you know, that's what it takes to like be in the lead group. Like, you got to think of all this stuff beforehand. So if the goal is to go the fastest possible time and stick with the leaders, then you just have to be prepared for this sort of thing. Yeah. I don't know if that's me though. I like a good snack stop. Okay, so despite having to stop, I still made it a quick stop. I had 3 gels in the span of about 30 seconds, refilled my bottles really quickly, and just did a really quick recording of the space because I am paid to make a video for this event. Not this video, but the Instagram videos. And I noticed because I was cramping, I wanted some extra salt, so I went over to the cafe and I just said, hey, can I have some salt? And they didn't have any of the little travel packs of salt, so they just poured the big Saxa salt, you know, that one, onto a teaspoon, and I got about a teaspoon's worth. I carried it over to my bottle, and then I just tipped it in, and it worked a treat because I didn't cramp after that. Did a quick bathroom stop, and then I tightened my handlebars, which was a must, and away I went. The good thing about a there and back is that when you're going back, you can see how much distance and time you have ahead of the next rider. And I'd stopped for about 5 minutes or so, and the other riders were just getting to the stop at that point. The road felt like a little bit of a drag. It was just a slight incline, which really just took a hit on the speed. And also, I was starting to feel the fatigue from riding so fast earlier.
Headwind and solo.
Like, it was starting to catch up with me. I felt like my lower back was really starting to give in. And I also noticed my heart rate was drifting higher for the perceived effort. But it was nice to be able to go at my own pace, because if I was with others, faster people, then I would just have to try and match their pace and just hope that I can hang on, you know? If I did that, the last 50 Ks, I could have been in for a world of hurt. I just ticked over about 100 kilometers.
Oh, I'm such a dingus. I don't know which way to go.
I was at a crossroads, and the route was not loaded up on my Garmin watch, which was really frustrating. I loaded the GPX file manually onto the watch before the event and it worked, but on the event day, it just didn't for some reason. And the way that I chose which way to go at this crossroads was I looked at the ground and I saw 2 tire marks in one direction. And I'm like, well, there's only 2 guys in front of me, so I think I'll go that way. And so I did. Then a couple Ks down the track, there was a little sign with, which was like the event organizer had put a sign there with some arrows. So I was like, phew, I went the right way. The next 15 Ks were a gradual climb. Just me and the elements and that couple percent drag. It was getting hot at this point, but luckily the hill wasn't steep enough that I was like grinding up it. But yeah, the fatigue of the day was definitely creeping in.
Hey mate, how you traveling?
We're going good for the first 80 and now cramps are killing me.
I feel ya. Have a good one.
I don't have much to say here. It's just classic Australian outback. There wasn't any mountains in the distance. It was just big open paddocks. Saw the occasional piece of farm equipment.
Country things.
Once I crested that climb, there was the 115 kilometer Cookamidgera aid station. But at that point in the ride, I just wanted to keep going. I didn't want to stop and let the body cool down. So I think I only would have stopped there if I was really low on water and nutrition, or the weight of the day has been hitting you so hard that you need that final stop before you get home. But I was chugging along kind of nicely, so I gave it a miss. The final stretch, it was mostly asphalt with a couple of gravel sections. And at this point, I was passing some of the riders who did the 50 kilometer option of the event. And yeah, I don't have much to say here. It's like, it's the final stretch, you know? You've made it at this point. You've gone through all the obstacles and all the hardships. You just got to bring it home. Just tap it in.
Hey, just tap it in.
It was an awesome feeling rolling past the start and finish line. Will was there, ringing the bell as he usually does. And then some of the volunteers from Parkes gave me a little pin and the chocky, which I would have to say, the Lindt chocolate, if it's over like 20 degrees, I don't think chocolate is an appropriate finish line thing. It's really nice and creamy, don't get me wrong, but if you don't eat it then and there, it just becomes this melted ball that you're holding. But it went down a treat. And there was also like a reporter there from the local paper, just took some notes down of what I had to say at the end of the ride, which was really cool. Just not something that would happen in the city. I mean, I don't even know if we have newspapers in the city anymore, but for Parkes, like, they don't have events like this all the time. So it's kind of a big deal. And for someone to come out and talk to you personally, and then the community is going to hear about it, I think it's a really special thing. It was cool to see some people on e-bikes there. E-bikes are getting way more popular with these events, and I think for good reason. Like, if it gives people the opportunity to come and ride these events, like, good for them. And they could ride with someone else that's of greater ability than themselves, and then you get to ride with people that, you know, you wouldn't usually ride with, which is really cool. The day was heating up, so the Heaps normal non-alcoholic beer went down a treat. Sausage Sambo was great as well, and the debrief with the other riders was awesome too, because I started the day with them, but I can say this time that I got to finish ahead of them. And I know it's a Grand Fondo, so you can choose your own adventure and ride it however you want to. But it was nice just to finish towards the front this time around. Grand Fondos are great because they give you the flexibility to ride the event however you like. If you're having a good day, keep pushing it. If you want to take it easy, take it easy. Considering that this event is in Parkes, I think there was a little bit of an expectation to roll past the dish. I mean, it's what the area is known for, and it would have been pretty iconic. But after the event, we drove out and got some footage of the dish, because I don't know the next time I'm going to be in Parkes, to be honest. And it would have been a huge detour on Ashphalt. So as much as I would have wanted to ride past it in the event, I don't think it would have been like a good addition to the course, considering it's a gravel event. Anyway, I know that there was a recovery ride the following day after the event, and that ride went past the dish. This year, Goodness Gravel has had 4 events. 3 of them have been in totally new country towns and whole new courses. And I think that's so cool, getting to ride in these lesser known places, because they have so much to offer. And once you start riding these new courses, it's kind of addictive and you don't want to stop. Anyways, I'll leave this one there. If you made it to the deep end of the video, thank you, you're a real one. And I also wanted to shout out my wife. She actually came to one of my cycling events, and she's definitely not watching this, but I just wanted her to know that I'm really appreciative of her being there, as well as Loki, because it was more fun. We got to stay in a house together in like rural New South Wales, and we don't have a house in Sydney, so the space was awesome, and Loki got to run around in the backyard. And I also had someone to halve the driving, especially after the event on the way home, where it's not only a safety thing, but I'm also just really appreciative. Catch ya.